Hello, I'm Dr. Bolanle, your host on the BrightMindsMD and your mental health podcast. Here, we discuss topics designed to explore the full spectrum of mental well-being. You'll hear from experts and listen to personal experiences that inspire and inform. So, whether you're seeking insights, solutions, or just a dose of motivation, this podcast is your perfect companion. Hit that subscribe button and join us on this incredible journey to mental well-being. Your whole health starts with your whole mind. Let's get started. All right, good day here for everyone listening. I am Dr. Bolanle Akinrambi, psychiatrist at BrightMindsMD, a private psychiatry practice in New Jersey where we help people with depression and anxiety disorders feel better and get better using fewer medications and wellness practices. Today, I'm very excited to have another psychiatrist joining me today in this conversation to talk about a topic that's dear to my heart that I also find very exciting, travel and its impact on mental health, or the interplay between that. So I welcome today Dr. Christine Goins. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your work, Dr. Goins.
Yes, thank you so much for welcoming me here. I'm Dr. Christine Goins. I'm an integrative adult, child, and adolescent psychiatrist, world traveler, and also physician coach. I help physicians break free from traditional medicine to achieve location freedom and create their own ideal nomadic lifestyle. So I spend all my time traveling. That's my passion, one of my passions in life, in addition to medicine, psychiatry. So excited to be here to talk about this.
Awesome. Thank you. And I was just telling you right before we got started that I just got back from a well-needed travel, and I'm already thinking about the next one. Travel can be very therapeutic and can be very relieving in so many ways. Can you, and I know that that's some of the things you talk about, and tell us a little bit more about that. What are your thoughts about travel and its impact on mental health, and why it's important, for example, to do that?
For sure. I mean, there's definitely data to suggest that travel is able to decrease or alleviate symptoms of both depression and anxiety. It's able to decrease stress, really helps with enhancing your energy, really helps with creativity. Many of the things that when we are feeling really burnt out, when we are feeling very overloaded, tend to weigh heavy on us. So it really has this capacity to help us with our present moment-to-moment awareness, helping us to really tap into that the same way that we do when we're practicing mindfulness, and can be really helpful for gaining some of that presence, some of that clarity, especially because we have this ability to be in a brand new environment with all of our new surroundings, be able to experience a diversity of ideas, exposure to new languages, new culture, food, art, music. And so it's able to attract and keep our attention in that way.
Absolutely. That's that resonates with me. The piece of forcing us to be present and be mindful, because all of us, doctors and patients, pretty much everyone in the U.S., at least in our lifestyle, we spend so much time on the run. We're going one place to the other and one place to the other, and I can certainly relate to the fact that when I travel, I'm forced to just stop.
Yes.
And stopping, I can engage my senses, whether it be through eating different foods than I normally would eat every day, like, visual senses as well, seeing a completely different environment than I typically, would be in every day. It just forces me to stop, because now I have to be present and rethink what my day-to-day will be while I'm on travel. So I definitely will attest to the beauty of that. And so in bringing this, and I do recommend travel to my patients myself, interestingly. So I want to, how do you bring this into practice, with your patients? How do you have them incorporate travel as a form of treatment, I guess, or an addition to treatment?
For me, it's definitely encouraging people to take a break, especially just given the, like you mentioned, the day-to-day, the running. A lot of our culture, especially within America, is focused on productivity. So helping them to understand the productivity of rest, of relaxation, of rejuvenation, of really spending time engaging and focusing on activities that are generative. And that is something that I don't feel we spend too much time focusing on. Even the power of silence, really engaging in a practice of silence. And so these are some of the things that I try to bring to my patients and try to work with them, try to help them to be more open-minded for the spaces where they can place moments like this in their day-to-day, but also being very intentional about creating a space in their life where they can get away in whatever capacity that they can. And so I know for me personally, just being a physician in my own day-to-day, that living a life of travel has also allowed me to experience time freedom, which is something that people, I think, very much want and desire, but it's something that has to be created and cultivated. It just won't, land on us, right? And so what that does is having that space really allows me to gain more clarity. And so that's something that I think travel is really able to do when you have that time freedom, because you have more time to do some of the deep introspective work that you won't otherwise do. And so for me, that not only benefits my relationship with myself, but my relationship with others. So it can really help with family dynamics, with relationship dynamics for those who are partnered. And I think as a physician, it helps me to also have better work and relationships with my patients, because who wants a psychiatrist, a coach, a therapist who doesn't work on their own mind, right?
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Absolutely. And speaking of clarity, I definitely also would find that when I'm gone is when I start to have ideas, or sometimes I'll have openings in my mind about things that I've been stuck on. They suddenly start to come because when I'm on vacation, my mind is clear and receptive and present, and I feel like my brain is better able to connect in ways that it didn't while I was, going under pressure. So important. And definitely, speaking of who wants a psychiatrist who's burnt out and not doing their own self-care, right? How can you be effective as a healer, as a physician when you're not working on your own health? So how did you come upon this? And I was very curious. A traveling psychiatrist is such a cool thought, a cool idea. I'm also big on charting your own path and your own way, because I strongly believe that there's not one way to be. There's not one way to do anything. Everyone can really customize life to fulfill them, but also to continue to be of service. So tell me how you came upon that. How did that come about?
Well, for me, travel has always been my passion. Since I was a teenager, I was never exposed to travel except through reading novels. So one of my favorite novelists growing up was Eric Jerome Dickey, and he would write these amazing books about Black women who were traveling all over the world, and they were polyglots. And so that was my exposure. It was through my imagination that I could be someone who lived this type of lifestyle. But I also wanted to be a doctor since I was in the third grade. So there was this competing interest. And like you said, how important it is to really cultivate the life that we really want to live, and how combining these different passions really can come together. So throughout my journey of medicine, I noticed that when I would engage in medicine and practice it for, how training is more than 50, 60, 70 hours a week, I noticed that I would get really burnt out. My mood would tank and I would get depressed. But when I was practicing medicine, 20 or less hours a week, I was engaged, I was excited, I had so much joy in working with my patients. And so for me, it was really about how do I combine these things that I love? Like, how do I create this life that I really want to live? And so that led me to a 5-year plan that I had to create this life. And then during the pandemic, both of my grandmothers died, and that helped me. It kind of shook me in place and really helped me to see that time is limited, it's precious. What can I do to not keep my dream out, to some extended date? What can I do to live my dream today? And so I revamped my 5-year plan to a 5-month plan and booked a one-way ticket to Colombia and set out on my journey. So that's kind of how I started.
How cool. I applaud you for the bravery and the foresight and the insight you had to say, hey, I can live life, but also still serve the people that I'm here. And what I find also in doing that is that you're a better doctor for your patients when you're well cared of. At least that's my experience, and I sense that must be your experience as well. Because like when we look on social media, there's like a lot of psychiatry bashing, a lot of, oh, I just talked to my doctor and they just write me pills and I go away, oh, my doctor is so disinterested, or my doctor is just barely listening. And we don't talk about this enough in medicine. It's because the doctor is burnt out. The doctor didn't sleep last night. The doctor hasn't done anything fun for themselves in God knows how long. And so they're just barely there, and they have the knowledge, but they're not healthy and wholesome and hopeful. And that's not the fault of the doctor often. It's the way that the healthcare system has been set up to work, unfortunately, that creates these unfortunate events. But I really think that more and more doctors, psychiatrists, but other kinds of physicians, we need to also kind of focus on creating a practice where we're whole ourselves. So because when we're whole, we are better doctors, we are better for our patients, so we're better human beings for our families and the people in our lives as general. And so as a doctor who prescribes, I do say I prescribe travel sometimes when we do an assessment and a person's in criteria for some mood things. I'm like, when was the last time you took off? You sound really burnt out, and maybe we don't need to throw a med at this time. Maybe we need to help you schedule a break. And many times that's very effective. So, but sometimes some resistance I might get is, well, that's very expensive, or how am I going to leave all of these responsibilities, all of these things that people expect of me, whether my children, my spouse, my job, my employer, all of these things that that are real things that are present in our lives. So how do you, and I want to hear I have a way, my thoughts about it, but how do you talk with people or help people overcome these mind blocks to creating time for rest and travel?
Yeah. I think it's about taking the time to prioritize what's most important and to really dive deep into values. People talk about, take a look at how you spend your time, and that'll tell you what you truly value. I could say the same thing for finances, sometimes, and things like that, but really just taking a moment to think through like what's manifested in your life and how things are showing up in your life. And if that's truly in alignment with who you are or who you want to be, who you're evolving into. And so that's something that I try to work with patients around. It's if their current lifestyle or situation is not exactly what they're wanting, are there certain self-limiting beliefs that are coming up that are keeping them kind of locked into that particular situation rather than the place that they want to go, rather than the place that they want to be and what they want to believe about themselves or their lives or where they can be. Because a lot of times it's not that those circumstances or those situations are not real, they're real. It's just that they're not the reason why we're not doing what we want to do. It's really our beliefs that are keeping us from living the lives that we want.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some beliefs I hear often is it's so expensive. And one thing, like a conversation I had with someone recently, it was, I said, what are other things that you're spending money on that may not even be serving your purpose, but so expensive? Is that where you want, if you're happy, again, like you said, directing your funds that way? Or can that money now start being directed towards this if you're gonna prioritize that? Or another thing I would hear often is there's a belief that even to travel means you have to go to a different continent, right? But there's lots of travel that's even local and accessible. I took my 7-year-old on a trip to Princeton. We're Jersey people. I took her on an overnight trip to Princeton, right? Princeton Township right here, driving distance. We stayed there, explored the town. We saw so many things, explored the campus. It was a very inexpensive way. But when she tells the story, though, you will not know that this was a day trip to an overnight trip to Princeton. It was an open world for her. It was new things for her. It was, staying and having different experiences. And so those are two things I feel like, pops up in terms of limiting beliefs sometimes about what travel is and what it needs to be, or how expensive, or how accessible in terms of being affordable.
Right.
About shifting our priorities that way. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you have any other thoughts about that, or some beliefs that pop up for people, and how you help or what you might recommend or advise people to think about.
For sure. And I think that that's definitely one of them, is kind of changing or being more open to how you're viewing travel. But also, I think that people have a certain idea of even what international travel needs to look like. Do you need to be at a 5-star resort, or can you show up, to a more local community where you're actually engaging with the people from that place, rather than more people who came on vacation from where you're from? It's different ways that you can show up in terms of travel that are much less expensive than we kind of think. Initially, also just learning about different ways to travel. Like, for instance, for people who can use credit cards responsibly, credit card efficiency, where all of your travel is free, or really, really affordable, right? So just learning different tactics and different ways. And it's not that you're, circulating money that you don't have, but you learn how to do it in a way that really you just live your life normally, but you have all these rewards that then allow you, right, this ability to travel for free with your family. So I think it's just about being open. And when you really want something, the doors open for you to be able to attain that. So it's just about being open, being flexible, and going for what you want.
Thank you. Deciding and going for what you want. That's it. That's where you start, and then you'll start to find pathways. Thank you so much. If there is anything you would like to anyone listening to us to go away with, which I feel like you might have already touched on, but if you had anything else that jumps out at you that you want someone to live with that's listening to us today, what would it be?
Just to, if you're able to, if you're open to, if it's a desire, I would say if travel in any way is a passion, desire that you have, listen to it, like move in the direction of it, lean into it. If you need to connect with folks who do it more often, just so that you can be surrounded by a community of people who find different ways of engaging in it, I would say to do that. There's so many wonderful benefits of it. We talked a little bit about some of the mental health aspects, but even when you think about the cognitive flexibility that comes with travel, being more comfortable with the uncomfortable, with the unexpected, even if you're thinking about the different connections that you can make, not only quality time with yourself or with your family or with your close friends, but connections that you can make with people that you've never met, with people from different cultures, meaningful and enduring connections, just to experience novel opportunities, moments. Like there's so much that you can gain from that. And I think putting yourself in those positions many times can increase your confidence of going even into other aspects of your life where there's newness and there is uncertainty. It can really just magnify your life in so many ways. So I just say, if it's something that you really want to do, move forward. Yeah.
Move forward. Cognitive flexibility, insights, things that we do in the therapeutic room. Being able to get that while you're traveling is such a bonus, right? Yes, I definitely would agree with that. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Goins. Also, if people want to find you, want to hear more, learn more about what you do and how you practice, where can they find you?
Yes, on Facebook, you can find me at the Nomad MD, and on Instagram, you can find me at the Nomad MDs.
Nomad MDs. Thank you very much, and we'll put that note at the bottom of our video so that people can easily access that. Well, I think that will be all for today. I want to thank Dr. Goins, the founder of Nomad MD. Thank you for joining us today, sharing about your thoughts with us about travel, its benefits, therapeutic benefits, specifically also for our mental health in general as human beings. Thank you again for your time. Again, I'm Dr. Bolanle Akinrambi, psychiatrist and founder at BrightMindsMD in New Jersey, where we help people with depression and anxiety get better using fewer medications and wellness practices. And here was one wellness practice today. Thank you and have a wonderful time ahead. Thank you now. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to share this with a friend or two. Until next time, it's Dr. Bolanle on the Bright Minds MD and Your Mental Health podcast. Ciao.